David Brady, good morning to you.
Morning, Ger.
How are you?
All's good, boys. Yep.
So, Galway are into 9-4. That's the biggest price they are now for the Connacht Championship. Mayo still the favourites. That's ridiculous. Come on, Galway are the favourites to win Connacht after this. They've been brilliant.
Are you giving after me or Eoin?
I'm just saying. I'm not giving after anybody.
I'm give after the bookies because the bookies are wrong. There's no way I could see Mayo has been a favourite for this. Look at May the 13th. It is, in all fairness, it's the only competitive championship left we have, and it's going to be an absolutely titanic struggle. I see Sligo being slight favourites, or Galway. But the one thing is, and it's in Castlebar, home advantage is, and I've seen people writing about it in the build-up to the National League final. Every sport, every game that's ever played, home advantage has a distinct advantage to the home team. Simple as that. And that's where I think that the ground has been evened, because Galway are ahead after this winter, after the National League they've had, after the display on Sunday as well. But yeah, there'll be the red carpet. The red carpet is going to be out.
Given this year's championship is the way it is, should both teams maybe pull back a little bit from going, oh, it's do or die, it's like the be-all and end-all to win this game? Because ultimately, all they both need to do is to be fully fit by the time the Super 8 runs around and it's reset. That's all that matters.
There's not a chance that Mayo will get anywhere near Super 8 if they do not win on May the 13th.
Surely they get through the back door to the Super 8.
I'm telling you now, the bodies are going to be tight at the minute. They've been tight all the last 6 months. Like, you haven't got your Brendan Harrisons, your Keith Higgins, you haven't got your Chris Barretts, you haven't had your Tom Parsons, you haven't had your Shamie O'Shea's, you haven't had your Lee Keegans to a degree.
And you won't have for May 13th.
And you won't, no. And then you're going to get them guys back is going to be a major ask for backdoor games where Mayo will not survive.
So the fewer games, the better this year. That's the age profile.
Look at it, without a doubt.
Although
at the age, look at it.
You would have said that last year. And even, in extra time in various games, you would have said, oh, Jesus, they look like they're out here. But it made no odds.
It made no... You know what? The Derry game, thanks be to God, it was at home. That's like your home fixtures in the back door are a major, benefit to you.
Yeah.
But no, simple as that. What Galway will do is a different story, I think. But for Mayo, no. They have to stay away at every single... Because the reality then is, when it comes to the Super 8s, that's when you need to be hitting peak. That's when you need to be having the batteries recharged. You need to be going at a full tilt, and it won't be a case from a Mayo perspective.
The one thing that said to me that Galway really mean business this year is the way that, kind of as Ger outlined there, they didn't see this as their one last opportunity to beat Dublin. I know Joe Brawley kind of referred to it in the aftermath, saying that it was a missed opportunity for Galway to actually go and beat Dublin, whereas in actual fact, I feel that they've got bigger plans down the line and they didn't even want to show their hand. I know Stephen Rochford was in the stadium as well, so there's an element of that too, but I certainly think that Galway went to Croke Park on Sunday thinking about the wider game plan rather than thinking about getting their hands on a Division 1 title.
I don't know. Honestly, I do think that Galway in the back of their mind were like, and Kevin Walsh was he looked happy afterwards to get beaten by, what was it, 4 points in the end. You're going to yourself, they didn't want a 10-point, a double-digit defeat, and that's something that would have been thrown back at them. That would have taken a lot of the positivity out of the National League. Was it going to happen? No, but it can. You know what? There's only one team in the country that it can happen within space of 3 or 4 minutes, and you could have seen it. You could have seen it happening to a degree, but not in the early stages, when Roy Lavelle's save, which was absolutely fantastic from was it Rock or Mannion?
Rock was the amazing save, and Mannion in the first minute.
half.
Like, you're going to yourself, Galway didn't really threaten goal all day. Dublin were on top. They would have went 6 up if they had got that goal. There was a time of that game, and I wouldn't buy into the thing that Galway were holding a lot back. There was a time in that game in the 65th minute and it's what Dublin do absolutely fantastic, and people don't realise it. They double up on the simplicity of the way they play. Galway had an opportunity. They came back. They were a man up. They were 3 points down. They came back to a point down, and they had two opportunities to go ahead. And both of them opportunities were things that you would pull out of a video file and say, you do not do that. You do not take the shot under pressure. You hadn't an opening. It was a high percentage shot. There was a man in a better position. Galway did that, and Dublin do the opposite in them situations. They make it twice as simple. They give the one extra pass. Connacht came in. Was he going to ping it when it left? No, he puts it out to Kilkenny. Kilkenny pops it over from 22 yards out. The simplicity of, in a situation like that, when the game is in the melting pot, you play it twice as simple, and Galway didn't do that. They'll learn from it, and they need to learn from it, because they had an opportunity there when they went a man up. Dublin again, they were like the team that had the 15 men, but the way Galway play is that, you know, they have a very much like Dublin. Like Dublin, I thought, were as defensive as I've ever seen them for long periods of that game last week. Or on Sunday. I thought they were very, very defensive. Well, that's their game. That's the reality of it. And people say, why isn't Connolly playing, or why isn't this playing? When you have the likes of Scully working as hard as he is, when you have the likes of Brian Howard, like the amount of work rate they put in, but it's from the half-back line, or your half-forward line, dropping back, getting hands in, and that's why them guys, for me, and the new blood has brought something to Dublin.
They're in that sweet spot now that Kilkenny had, where they were in the middle of their run, where they're able to introduce 3 or 4 players who are really good. We don't know if they're going to be as great as the players they're replacing, but they're coming into a winning culture where the work rate and the selflessness and the sacrifice for the team is the be-all and end-all. And so you can interchange a lot of stuff when you still have the core structure.
Yeah, but you know what? And the core structure for Dublin, one vital part of that, and it's the same in it's modern day GAA football, is your half forward line. If you haven't got your half forward line of the likes of Scully, Howard, Kilkenny at times, you're going to yourself, that's the engine room of that team. Now to replace the likes of Paul Flynn, Jeremy Connolly, like them, but they were exactly what was wanted and required at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, your forwards, your defenders still have to defend, but it's the work rate from that diamond, your half forward and your 2 midfielders.
Just on the point of them being more defensive, I think it's Vinnie Murphy talking today about how they really miss Cian O'Sullivan. That maybe that's a response to not having a like-for-like replacement ready to go into the team at the moment. You know, maybe John Small becomes that player. It could be one of a number of different. Maybe Johnny Cooper gets a go. You know, there's a bunch of different characters there. But when Cian O'Sullivan is out, that kind of force field that they have, that sense of, okay, that's our comfort blanket, that's gone from the team, and so collectively they need to work a bit harder at that. And it's just a theory. Yeah,
well, you know, I suppose he has been a fulcrum. O'Sullivan has been the main, you know, stopgap. He's the main orchestrator of their defence. Who has come back and replaced that? For me, and you could see it, you know, they have your Johnny, Philly and Small. They're all men to men. They're all the tight markers. They haven't really replaced Cian O'Sullivan on his absence, because O'Sullivan is a ball player as well. He's not an out and out. Like when all failed, Philly was under a bit of pressure. Johnny Cooper's under a bit of pressure. Johnny Small came up to the plate again and went back on Comer. And now was it Johnny Small, or was it the lack of ball going into him, or the pressure from outside that kind of nullified Comer in the second half? They haven't got the latitude. I honestly don't think to get another injury or a big name injury in their backs. I think that could be a serious Achilles heel problem for Dublin going forward.
The one thing that really stuck out to me, and it's something they've been doing for a long time, and other teams should certainly learn from this, is the relationship between the Dublin defenders and the referee in terms of, okay, so Johnny Cooper, Philly McMahon, David Byrne, whenever they gave away a free, and no matter how blatant or how cynical it was, they would approach the referee like they've just been accused of some sort of humanitarian crime or something. They looked absolutely abhorred that such a foul had been given. Like I saw at one stage Johnny Cooper and Davy Byrne, they both did this, where they actually accused Damien Comer of diving, and it was interesting because they actually made the diving signal despite the fact that they speak the same language as the referee. They've obviously been watching Champions League or something, and it's an unbelievable amount of kind of insistence that this is clearly a pre-planned thing, where they know they're in the wrong, but they're still going to have that word with the referee, because who knows, at the end of the day, if Damien Comer goes down in the box in the last minute, maybe the referee is thinking twice, and maybe he thinks that maybe those Dublin players were right in the first half, maybe he was diving, and it could go in their favour. It's a very, very smart thing to do, and it's cynical, but more teams should be doing it, right?
Well, more teams do it, but they probably don't do it as good as Dublin, and the whole thing is that it's about the marginal gains. Now, the referee, he made some peculiar calls in my mind. Against Galway on Sunday, I thought the Niall Scully sending off wasn't a sending off. That I don't think the second free was a second yellow card. But there's a psychology awareness kind of proverb that, and if you look at Dublin, if you're told something, you see it. But if you're shown something, you learn it. And if you're shown the actual motion, and you'll often see a player going, "No, you're wrong, Ger," and it's the actual physical. It's the physical idea of you're seeing it, or he's diving, or he's pulling, and you're going to yourself, they're actually showing the referee, because the referee doesn't listen to you anyway. But if you show the referee what in your mind is happening, sometimes it resonates. It's a subversive kind of a psychological thing. But teams sit down and say, right, how do we get the small little margins? It's not the manager that takes this meeting. You might have someone come in that might have experience of it, that would be man's accustomed to the dark arts. But it's the small things, but you will see it, and with Dublin as well, they will show you rather than tell you what's happening.
It's almost like controlling the uncontrollable.
Well, yeah, and that's part and parcel of competitive, top-class sport, whether it's from cricket, the small margins, and it goes against you, to football, to any sport. It's one or two calls, that's all you need.
How did Galway measure up against that? Because that was one of the things that at the start of the year, in the off-season, they were doing pre-Allianz League media, and they were all talking about how they need to be more streetwise. And look, the rules of engagement are the rules of engagement. And we understand that, we can park the moral argument for now. We can come back to that some other time. But the best teams are cheats, and they all cheat really well. And that's a grim enough thing to say, but they're all. And Galway will have watched. I wouldn't go as far
as that now.
Galway will have watched. Galway will have watched the last kick out in the All-Ireland final last year and gone, "Oh, I like that. I need to do a bit of that if I want to beat Dublin." So, how do Galway do in this scale of showing the referee what's going on versus what?
You know what? They're if you've seen the first foul. With Damien Comer and Johnny Cooper, you're going, right, if Comer had a hold of Johnny and he was falling forward, make sure your man comes with you and you get your free in. These guys are not kids. They've been around the block, whether it's club football, under 21 All-Irelands, and now getting again, freeing off the shackles of Division 2 can really give you momentum. And for the last 6-7 years, Galway have been in Division 2. You know what? I would say this thing, that no matter what their players they have on the pitch, they have one smart cookie off the pitch in their manager, and Kevin Walsh. Smart, intelligently, dark arts.
You had played against him, yeah?
Yeah. And
what was that like?
You know what? An absolute gentleman to play against from the sidelines. But on the pitch, you go to yourself, you know what, there's no real, they're not all cheaters like you said, but there's a definitive with Kevin. He goes, he's out to win.
What sort of things used he do?
No, he wouldn't be, you know what, he was tough, hard and physical. And he would have never, ever crossed the big white line of being absolutely...
He wasn't guilty.
No, he wasn't. I've went back and said it. The whole thing, it was 2004 or 5, I think. I went to Boston with Kevin Walsh, and he was a selector on the Railway Cup team. And we were trying to sober up before team meetings in the morning. We went over there on a Thursday, so Friday morning, Saturday morning was, oh Jesus, Kevin Walsh was giving speeches in the hotel. And you're going, man, above this fella wants us to to run through the wall. The game was on Sunday.
Yeah.
He has that passion about him, and he has that. And look, I'll say it straight. He has that ability to rev up a team to make them feel as if they're being ridiculed, they're being undermined. Their parents, their family are all being and you're going, and you see it the way Galway have played, especially against the Mayos of this world. Like they've beaten Mayo twice, and they've went to them games with a greater sense of tenacity and toughness, as if they were the teams that was hurting, where it should have been Mayo. And he has that capability.
There's a big do on for the '98 team in Galway. They're selling tickets for it at the moment, and there's photographs, and it's in, I can't remember which hotel it's in. I'm sure you can look up the details.
I've bought one.
Have you? Yeah. I'm sure it'll be a great night.
I won't be going to it, but I was forced into buying one.
Well, fair play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely won't be going either. But that sense and his link with that team, and all of the years of heartbreak in between, like, you feel like Galway are ready. And I don't want to overhype what we've seen in the league, but they're right there. They're right there in a way that you wouldn't say many of the other teams are right there at the moment. Like, okay, so Mayo we have to regard as being right there because no matter what's happened in the league in recent years, they've proven in the championship that they can make it. But like, making a case for Kerry to be right there at the moment, that's tough. Like,
you know what? It is tough. And if you look outside, it's a tough Tuesday morning and the rain pouring out of the sky, and it's the start of April and everything else. The landscape will change. And I would have an opinion that if the likes of the Galways do come up against the championship Tyrones, the championship Curries, I don't know who I'd be favouring. That's been truthful. I think we can. Man says they have.
I think you probably still make Kerry into your own favourites by virtue of the fact that Galway haven't done it in championship.
Yes.
And they haven't done it in championship outside of Connacht.
Outside of Connacht, yes. And
you know,
they have the core base material for it, but it can go horribly wrong in one game.
They're a real team. They look like they have the makings of a real team at the moment.
They have, and they've got defensively wise. They have got a good core structure. They're actually they seem comfortable playing with each other. It's not that, like, these guys have come up over the last few years together, but they've learned from their mistakes, and they're not. Look, you can say to yourself, right, 18 points for Dublin. They didn't give away a goal. They were close to Rory Lavelle. Massive stop, but I would like to see his kick. Dublin put his kickouts under pressure. Midfield wise with Cook. And I like Tom Flynn. He came in off the bench as well. They have 3 or 4 guys that can switch in and out of midfield. You have to keep that engine going. A lot of teams, and you'll see it, and Mayo probably won, where the engine, you know, the last 10 or 15 minutes, you need someone to bring in. Dublin have the people to bring in. Galway have the people to bring in. That's the big thing. Look, at Damien Comer is the talk of the country at the minute. He's good. He's strong. He's going to be, if he doesn't play well.
Yeah.
Galway don't play well.
Yeah.
Is that going to be the reality of a championship game where you're going, right, let's specifically take Comer out of it. Let's double team him and
see what happens.
Like it took Cooper, Philly Mack, and ended up John Small being saying, right, dedicated man marker. Like, I have to say, Small is probably one of the most underestimated defensively. He is the go-to man.
He's a good chance of being Footballer of the Year if they, you know, there's like one of those defenders.
Played every single game of the National League for Dublin. Every single game. But he was at it last year. And again, he is the man to say, right, whoever is causing us trouble. If I'm maybe I'm mistaken, but I think he went back on Andy in the second Andy Moore in the second half last year's All-Ireland final. He's top class. But again, for Galway, Shane Walsh, really, when you look at it and you look at the momentum of when Galway really needed someone, it was Shane Walsh that came to the fore on Sunday in the second half. And when they were nearly 3 points down. Yeah. And they came back, and
he looked pretty comfortable.
I thought he had led a lot of that. And as you say, I go back to your point, he got a lot of latitude around the half-hour line.
Yeah, and still made some mistakes that you can kind of point to the video afterwards and go, here, listen.
You know what?
Next
There's
time,
the amount of simple turnovers that Galway gave to Dublin was absolutely it was crimeful. And again, kickouts from they had 2 bad kickouts. They got points. If you look at Dublin, right, anytime there's a hold up, anytime there's a delay in the play, anytime there's a sub being made, they know themselves that their quick kick out is wasted. So what do? They all come in to a single formation right up the middle, and you can see Cluxton. You know, if it's not on left, if it's not on right, someone else will make the break. And each
Galway
time
do it as well, in fairness, sometimes.
Each time on Sunday, when there was a break and play, there was a sub down, man coming on, man coming off, Cluxton hit his man each and every time. When often it was a corner or a half forward, or even a corner forward coming back and going out to the far left or far right. That's experience, and Galway need to learn from that. A lot of things in the video that they will look back and say, Jesus, how did I just give a simple hand pass?
Yeah.
You know, give away possession.
Yeah, just on the kickouts there, it's interesting that you mention the stoppages in play, because obviously there's a lot more of them in the second half. So naturally, Cluxton's kickouts are probably more effective in the second half. And on that point, John Dively in the Irish Examiner yesterday broke it down by half, and he said that in the first half, I think Stephen Cluxton was allowed to go short 4 times or something like that, and each time it was a very successful moment for Dublin. They got a score out of it, or they got into a position, and it was conclusive proof that you have to push up on Stephen Cluxton's kickouts. But as you just outlined, in the second half, sometimes you don't have that option because there's a stoppage in play and they get into a set-piece formation almost.
Yeah, and you're going, it's nearly like an American football drill where they know exactly the timing of the runs and everything else. And I agree, you have to push up, you have to push out on Cluxton's kickouts, because what you're doing is, if you don't, you're giving Dublin the ball. And giving Dublin the ball, they are the most comfortable team in history. But even when they were down to 14 men, they were playing keep ball against Galway, because again Galway, they kind of knew, and they were playing keep ball around their own half back line and towards their own full back line, but they knew Galway had their extra man push back, where Galway, I thought, should have pushed their extra man forward and put a lot more pressure on the Dublin backs. But yeah, you have to put the pressure on Cluxton. The only pressure, the pressure on Cluxton, I think a lot of people in this country would put the pressure on him to retire, because it changes the whole landscape of Dublin football to a degree when you haven't got him.
He can go forever though. Like, you know, there was they put up video on YouTube of Jim doing a press conference. It was like pre-match stuff, and there was a bit of training, and he's just doing the same drills as everybody else, and he looks like he's as happy now as he's ever been in his life. And like, they're on the verge of greatness. Like, they're on the verge of all-time greatness. They're already great. So just in case I misspoke before you all start killing me, but they're like, he will go down as the greatest goalkeeper of all time. This team will go down as the greatest team of all time if they continue to win at the rate they're winning at. And there's no reason why they won't.
You know what? The older I get, the better I was. And that's the reality with this team. Because it's down the line that we'll be all men. And our sons, or our family, or our you know, they will be talking about the team.
They'll be growing up in Dublin and like going for the 90th title in a row.
Yeah, and you go to yourself, you know what, this is great, but it's only down the line that we get to appreciate these players. And again, if you look at it, and it's with papers here, and they'll probably list, every paper lists what Dublin players aren't there. What Dublin players aren't playing, what aren't on the panel or injured. You're going to say, by these the ones that have.
Yeah, Conor Callaghan coming off the bench, like straight back in, straight in the team. You know, there's no oh, he needs to do a bit of training with us. It's like straight in the team.
But that's the respect you have. But you know what? When he got the ball, you're going to yourself, don't tell me he's going to put a point over from 45 yards out with his left hand. Yeah. You know, what did he do? He did the simple things twice, because he came on at a crucial time, at a crucial juncture. And he laid ball back to Kilkenny, and he got on ball, but he didn't try to be the hero.
And winning that kick out was probably his most crucial intervention as well. Just in terms of, I guess you mentioned it there, in terms of awareness and kind of comfort on the ball. Watching Kieran Kilkenny on Sunday, you'd wonder if he was born in the United States, if he could have become a top-level quarterback, because his knowledge of space is unbelievable. He knows where the space is going to open up. He doesn't just exploit the space that already exists. He sees where the defender and where his teammates are going to move, and he moves into that space or gives the hand pass to the player who's going to exploit that space. And his relationship is remarkable, and you can really see the work of Mark Ingle, the basketball coach, in the team, the basic basketball principle of attacking the weak side. And Kilkenny just epitomises that. And it's very, very hard to teach that. But if England was only brought in, whatever, post-2014, in the space of 4 years, 3 years even, it's become a thing that they're unbelievably competent at.
Unbelievable. And you know what? I don't know, when they sent out that clip of the Jim Gavin conference, like, you kind of say to yourself, every one of the drills and they have a ball in their hand.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of football now. But you look, he's on the back page of the paper there, and he's eating a lot of broccoli because he even has beefed up. He's in serious shape, but he has beefed up. But there's one thing you don't need to beef up about Colonel Kenny, that's his brain. He is as intelligent footballer as you get. Now again, it's a case of you have a guy that is getting on so much ball, and 50% of the time he gets on the ball, he's giving it back to someone else. But he's the link. He is the creator. But if you got to say to yourself, well, Ger, do we put a man with him and let ourselves, and we're opened up defensively because he's going to take someone out of that defensive formation, or do we sit back? And if you want to stop Kieran Kilkenny doing it, there's only one way you can do it, and I think there's only one man that can do it, and that has been Lee Keegan. By going wherever he goes, whatever he does, you're a foot ahead of him, not behind him, and that's he is key to the way Dublin plays. And again, they have not been shy in showing us, not even glimpses, a constant, and it's a lot of it is from ball that's been kind of slow ball coming from the back that you hit the full forward line, and they've tried 3 or 4 times last Sunday to hit Kilkenny when he was sitting in the full forward line, because he has a big physical presence. And again, if you can get a bit of space or one-on-one, it hasn't worked to a degree, but we're going to see it more of it throughout the summer, without a doubt.
They get better at it as they practice it more.
It's definitely something they are. They're not going to say, just let's pretend we're doing this now for the summer. No, it's and again, to stop it, it means that you're going to have someone that's better and more capable than Kieran Kenny sitting on the edge of the square.
Just to finish this up, we're looking at the teams to see who can improve and who can actually get better to try and close the gap on Dublin. But remember, this is a Dublin team that had, Jim Gavin says, 3 significant training sessions before the start of the league. They holidayed late again. They're the team who has the most room to grow and improve over the course of the next 6-8 weeks. And remember, they're the team who don't need to peak until the Super 8 starts, as opposed to Mayo and Galway needing to peak for the 13th. OK, so Kerry don't need to peak as well until the Super 8s. But everybody else needs to get in some kind of shape before then.
You look at Tyrone and Cavan going out now in 5-6 weeks.
Best of luck, lads.
Jesus, good luck with that. And you're going, what are you going to do? What are you going to do tonight at training? And you're going, oh, because it is. I remember after your break in the National League, your first week back was hell. Absolute hell, because you probably had 3 or 4 days off. You had a club game and you had 1 or 2 nights out in the beer. But it's now you're going to yourself, it gives Dublin, and I don't care what people say, it gives Dublin such an advantage to have that group of players in, constantly focus on one thing that they don't, and I don't think any of them has disrespected a team or a player in the last 5 or 6 years. But they know in their heart and souls, and Jim Gavin knows, and their trainers knows, and their strength and conditioning guys knows, they need to pick for the Super 8s. They'll whether it's a Kildare or Meath that's in the Leinster final that's going to push them. They know exactly their timetable is set out for them, and they have that advantage big time, and it's a good advantage, but you have to say fair play to them. Yeah, no, good stuff. DB, thanks very much. Pleasure, boys.
Hey, hope you enjoyed that latest offering from Off the Ball. If you want to subscribe, and you should, check out just up here. All our latest stuff is just down here. Generally, knock yourself out.